style that seems inspired by classic Legend of Zelda games and a loot system that would make Diablo blush, Pale Coins blends two fantastic games from my childhood into an enjoyable pixel RPG romp. Hello Coindroppers, and welcome to our review for Pale Coins. Before we get into the review, in the interest of transparency, I will say that a code was supplied from the developers to make this review possible. That being said, I do genuinely believe that Pale Coins is worth your time if you're a fan of RPGs. Initially, I wasn't sold on Pale Coins. The simple, lower resolution pixel art gameplay traditionally doesn't appeal to me, and based on that impression alone, almost passed it up. However, with the increased popularity of the Unreal Engine and the overwhelming amount of cursed projects being made in that engine, I'm finding myself gravitating away from hyperrealism and back to the good old SNES and Genesis days of pixelated greatness. What is slightly disappointing, however, is that while the game itself looks great, the UI for the most part is pretty bare bones and simple. It all functions well, and menus and submenus are easy to navigate and identify, but ultimately, it's quite bland in appearance. The controls, on the other hand, are quite simple and easy to master. Navigating the world using the expected WASD keys, clicking to swing your sword or casting your spell, or fire your arrows depending on whatever class and way you choose to play the game. Unlike Legend of Zelda, which requires you to face a cardinal direction to attack, Pale Coins uses the mouse to aim, allowing you to attack in all directions, and the attack range will depend on the weapon you have equipped. Of course, you have a hotbar, and most weapons have an additional skill or two that can be mapped to it. However, at the time that I played the game, they weren't functional until I got to about the end of the game, which made healing in a fight quite tricky, since I couldn't bind my potions from my inventory to my hotbar. When it comes to promoting exploration with your narrative, I think Bethesda and many other developers making open-world games could learn a lot from Pale Coins. Unlike Fallout 4, which wants you to spend hours of your life exploring the wasteland and build your settlement despite the main story setting you on an urgent search for your son, Pale Coins sees your character seemingly resurrected by an ancient goddess who tells you that she requires the Champion's Coin, a powerful relic that's said to give the holder unimaginable power and will aid the goddess in returning to the world. With that information, she sends you on your way to explore the world, meet the denizens, help them or not, and find what your goddess seeks. As you journey through the realm, you kill monsters and enemies alike, leveling and getting stronger. Then you find your first Pale Coin, which can be used to unlock powerful passive abilities similar to the Paragon boards of Diablo 4 or the skill web of Path of Exile, all while you randomly explore the world looking for this particular Pale Coin for your goddess. Now that's how you sell a narrative that promotes open-world exploration. Speaking of Diablo, I can't tell you how thrilled I was to see how robust their loot system was in Pale Coins. From item find boosts to movement and attack speed bonuses and everything in between, Pale Coins feels very reminiscent of Diablo 2 loot in the best way possible. After a few great drops and some well-planned unlocks on my Pale Coins board, I was able to build a warrior into a ridiculously fast-moving, fast-attacking, and hard-hitting two-handed axed monster, basically living my Berserker Barbarian fantasy in every facet. The build options genuinely seemed limited only by your imagination, which promotes a great amount of theory crafting. I could rant about how enjoyable Pale Coins was for a while, but I think the most important thing I could tell you is that this review was intended only to be a first impressions review, but the gameplay was so enjoyable, I just wanted to keep going. I didn't want to put it down. I wanted to know what the next monster was going to drop, what treasure I'd find in the next dungeon, what quest I'd stumble upon the more I explored. On top of all that, the leveling pace felt good, stat choices were impactful, and the overall length of the game was a good 10 to 12 hours, which I'm sure could have been dragged out longer, but for me, fit perfectly into my busy lifestyle. But Pale Coins is far more than just a narrative game. There's also several different modes, including an endless tower, a hardcore mode, and a bingo mode. I didn't get a chance to play any of these before writing the review, but based on their names, I think it's safe to conclude that the endless tower is likely a roguelike experience, where you fight and level until you die, then start over again. Hardcore is self-explanatory, but bingo raises some eyebrows. Not quite sure what to make of that. They've also recently implemented a new Game Plus mode that was added shortly after I finished playing the game. Once again, the developer's choice for gameplay design fits perfectly with the narrative of the game by ending Pale Coins in a way that leaves it open to the idea of a time loop. If you're looking for a great, bite-sized RPG with a great loot system, unique story, and enjoyable gameplay, for $10 you can't go wrong with Pale Coins. At the very least, it's a better RPG than Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, as unfortunate as that sentence is. It's also recently been verified on Steam Deck, so this small game will play perfectly on the go. Thanks for watching our review of Pale Coins, and if you want more content, check out our bi-monthly podcast, consider subscribing to the channel to help us out, and if you like what we do, tell a friend to check us out. Thanks to the developer and their PR team for providing this code, and we'll see you next time.